everybody? Welcome to The Sweat presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm your host, Jesse Cofield. For the next half an hour, we are going to be breaking down Week 9 in the NFL, taking a betting look at everything. And by we, I mean myself, along with VSiN's Josh Applebaum and DraftKings, Steve Buchanan. So guys, before we get into it, let's look at actually some trends that are happening for Week 9, okay? So, struggling Rams facing the faltering Bucks, who are on a 3-game losing streak. Despite that, Tampa Bay, 3-point favorites, commanding 77% of the handle. Miami at Chicago, 79% of the bets. 89% of the handle are on the over, which is at 46 now. People are thinking Miami should be cooking with the addition of Bradley Chubb. Bills, Jets, totals 46. 85% of the handles on the under. Buffalo is one of the best under teams in the league. It's gone that way in 6 of its 7 games this season. And unders as a total have gone 72 and 51. That is good for 58.5% on the season. Best win percentage through 8 games since the 1991 NFL season. Okay, so those are some of the trends as we head into Week 9. Any of those or like any other trends kind of catching your eye, Josh?
Yeah, the first one I would say is just unders and dogs. That's been huge this year in the NFL. You've seen dogs about 58% against the spread, unders 58, almost 59%. So anytime I see a really public favorite or really public over, that's to me sometimes reasons for a bit of a concern here, Jesse. So it's going to be looking at, Buffalo Bills. Everyone's taking the under here. I do like it because it's windy, but when you have 85% of heavy betting there on the under, maybe it's a contrarian over opportunity. Also, Tom Brady laying 3, big money on Brady too, but that line looks like it may be going down to 2.5, so something to keep an eye out for there.
All right, Steve, what do you think?
Unders are going to be tested this week.
Ooh.
Like you said, 72 and 51 on the under so far this season. We have 10 games on this slate. That being said, 4 of them have a total of 48 points or more. So at least the books are expecting there's going to be a lot of shootouts this week. So will that trend continue this week? We shall see, but that's why we're here on the show. We're going to try to lead you in the right direction.
Well, speaking of leading people in the right direction, we're going to lock in our best bets for Week 9. And here's how things stand.
Let's
Steve, you are still perfect. I mean, can you believe it? Last week, you took the over on Derrick Henry rush yards. You are now 7-0. Julian last week, he took New England. They beat the Jets 22-17, so he is 5-3. Josh, 4-2-1. You took the Rams. They got blown out by the 49ers. Who saw that one coming? So let's give you a chance to get back in the W column. Steve, well, let's give you a chance to continue your winning streak. How about we start with you?
Yeah, so I really like Seattle this week to cover. It's been jumping around between +2 and +1.5, but Seattle has been such a good team against the spread as underdogs. They're 4-2 against the spread as underdogs, including, by the way, when they were 2.5 underdogs to the same team that they are facing tonight, whatever. Today, the Cardinals. Last month, they covered that game by an average by 5 points as underdogs. Cliff Kingsbury, we talked about this the last time we talked about this, is horrible against the spread as a favorite. 9-15 as a favorite against the spread. 5-11 against the spread as a home favorite. This has not been a spot where he has succeeded. Now, the biggest difference this time around, though, is that we're replacing Marquise Brown with DeAndre Hopkins. And if you've watched any Cardinals games, first and foremost, I apologized. Second of all, you've seen that Kyler Murray has been going to Hopkins. That has been his guy. He has desperately missed his target since he was out there. But the thing is, Hopkins predominantly lines up wide left. That's going to be a tough matchup for him going up against the rookie cornerback Tariq Woolen, who's been targeted against 36 times, allowing 20 receptions, average of 14 yards per reception, but 4 interceptions. He is already in the talks for Defensive Rookie Player of the Year. And then Arizona's defensive line, not going to get a lot of pressure on the Seahawks. That's going to give Geno Smith a lot of clean pockets to work with. And we have seen he's got a clean pocket. He's been nailing his receivers. So I like the wrong team is favored. It's basically my long-winded way of saying that. So give me the Seahawks to win this game outright.
And this line has actually moved. Seahawks are +1.5
Yep.
now. So, Josh, where are you going for your best bet?
So right off the bat, I'm with Steve on that one with Seattle, the 3.5 down to 2, and now 1.5. That's a divisional dog system match. Also, can we get a prop on Steve Buchanan to go undefeated with his DraftKings bets? I don't want to jinx him, but Philly right now to go undefeated 17-0, that's +900 at DraftKings. So 20-0 plus 2,500. Steve, you're doing a great job. Keep it up, buddy.
I'll take that.
But for my best bet, guys, I'm going to go to the Washington Commanders. This is a game that I've had my eye on pretty much all week. I'm going to take Washington +3.5. What's notable to me, big public play play here toward Minnesota. They're getting 77% of bets across the market. Obviously, Minnesota's been great this year. 6-1, won a bunch of games in a row. Commanders, though, I wouldn't sleep on the Commanders. Switching from Wentz to Heineke, they've won a few games in a row here, but from a data-driven standpoint, everyone's betting the Vikings, yet open 3, got up to 3.5. You're back down to 3. If you read between the lines, the books don't really want to give out the hook, the 3.5 to Commanders bettors here. So what I'm going to do is, if you had a book that's like juiced up really toward the side, Jesse, with the +3 at like even money here for the Commanders, pay the 20 cents, get the extra half point. I don't like buying points in general, but around a key number, it could be worthwhile. Give me the 3.5 here. Shop around. You might find it anyway. Taylor Heineke, 8-2 against the spread his last 10 games. But everyone here, big liability for the books, I think. Obviously on the road team here with the Vikings, but I'll take the points with the 3.5 with the Commanders.
And on the DK Sportsbook, it is +3 to the Commanders now. So moved a little bit there. Julian on daddy duty here. He is taking the Bucks -3. Quick thoughts on that, guys?
It's hard to bet Brady on any number right now, and it is juiced up. It might go to 2.5. I'll root for Julian, the new dad here, but it's a tough one here to lay points with Brady, especially a public play.
I know you have something to say, Steve.
He just picks the weirdest things. Like, there's so many ways that you can go in the sportsbook, and he goes with like Patriots against the Jets. Now he wants to go Bucks against the Rams. Like, whatever. He wins. Congratulations. He's at home. He just mails it in, throws in these weird bets. No ramifications. Nothing to go. No pushback at all. Whatever.
All right. Segment 1 in the books, folks. Coming up next, we're going to find out which storylines our analysts have their eyes on heading into Week 9, including, can Minnesota extend their winning streak to 6 games? Are Kirk Cousins and the Vikes the NFL's least hyped 6-1 team ever? We're going to discuss when the Sweat, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, returns.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this week, new customers can bet $5 on any team and pocket $200 in free bets if their moneyline bet wins. Download the app and use the promo code SWEAT when you sign up.
Welcome back to The Sweat, presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm Jesse Cofield, along with VSiN's Josh Applebaum and DraftKings' own Steve Buchanan. And I want to know what you guys are sweating. Got to be some Week 9 storylines for whatever reason are making you guys a little nervous, giving you a little pause before you place your bets. For example, Tom Brady was talking about finding some work-life balance this week, but he also needs to find some ATS balance because the Bucs' 2-6 record against the spread is the worst ATS start of his career. Tampa Bay is favored at home over the Rams, and as we highlighted earlier, a majority of the money is coming in on Tampa to cover. But are you concerned at all about Brady's state of mind heading into this game, Steve? You did not like Julian taking the Bucs in this position.
I'll be too fair. I'm not going to like anything that Julian takes because he's actually not physically here. So
Correct.
There is a little bit of liability there. But let's talk about these teams. Against the spread, both of them have been absolutely putrid against the spread. I mean, for two teams that came into the season with a ton of hype, they're not performing in this type of a scenario. The difference with the Rams is that they're failing to cover by almost 10 points against the spread. 9.6 points is the average that they're failing to cover by. So we're talking about a wide margin here. The biggest weakness for the Rams, too, has been their offensive line. But the only issue is the Bucs aren't getting a ton of pressure on the quarterback. So maybe this is actually an instance where Matt Stafford has some time to throw the ball, because that's been an issue all season long. When they bring in somebody like Allen Robinson to go with the other receivers they have, you'd think these guys would be making a big difference. That has not been the case. So I just worry about everything to do with the Bucs right now. This is just a team that looks completely lost in all facets of the game right now. But truly, they've both been tough against the spread, which is, again, a weird pick for Julian to make, but that's whatever.
Josh, you hate when there's so much public money on a team like this.
I really do. This scares me a lot. And the other thing is, like, Tom Brady, on the one hand, I want to buy low on Brady. I think one thing when you go 2-6 ATS, it's like, oh, I can't bet this team. They haven't covered. But I think if you're a contrarian bettor, you kind of like that because you can buy low on a team that hasn't covered, get more value here. But I'm with you, Jesse. The fact that Tampa Bay is still a big public bet, it's kind of like, the public says, ooh, Brady, I'm not liking what I'm seeing, but I'm not going to give up on Brady. He's at home laying a short number. Now, the other side of the coin is, lesser of two evils play maybe. Both these teams have really struggled here, Steve, as you mentioned. But to me, the early money, it's all about the key number of 3. If you got Brady something below 3, I know there's a 1.5, 2, 2.5 out there. Now you're up to 3. You're starting to see a little buyback, +3 on the Rams, bring it back down. I can understand a money line play. I can understand anything less than 3. But at 3, it feels to me like you missed the number, and I am worried about Brady.
All right, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings have won 5 straight, and they are maybe the least talked about 6-1 team in NFL history, okay? So now Minnesota has a road game against the team that Cousins started his career with, the Washington Commanders. That's right. Minnesota is a 3-point road favorite. They just went out and traded for TJ Hawkinson. Josh, you don't think that they're going to keep it rolling in the nation's capital, do you?
So your definition of keep it rolling, can they win the game? Sure, makes sense to me, but I'll take the points here. I mentioned this in the best bet. I like the Commanders in this spot. I really think the switch Wentz to Heineke. It's giving this team a lot of juice here. Can Heineke be, your star quarterback year in, year out? I don't know, but can he give you some juice here when you need it? I think it's definitely possible here. I like the move Hawkinson, bringing him in just for the long-term, futures here, prices for Minnesota. But I like the points in this one. Public's all over Minnesota. This is one of your most lopsided plays of the day. Almost 80% of bets are taking Minnesota here. To me, it's all about the hook here. If you can find the hook, the +3.5, I'll take it with the Commanders. Heineke, 8-2 ATS. By the way, Vikings, as good as they've been, 29th in the NFL in pass defense. So I like Heineke to put up some points. Lose by 3, can we cash by the hook? That's what I'm rooting for in this one.
Steve, Minnesota hasn't been blowing teams out, but they have been finding a way. The Commanders' defense has been playing better lately. Could this be an upset spot?
No, and you're right, but the thing is, Minnesota has different ways that they can beat you. I don't know if we can say the same about Washington. Now, I think it's fair to say that the better quarterback in the room is playing on the Commanders right now when it comes to Heineke. But when you talk about how good this Vikings team has been, love the acquisition of TJ Hawkinson. If you remember, too, the Vikings used to be a team that used to heavily go to tight ends in the red zone, going back to the Kyle Rudolph days. They really haven't had that guy in a couple of years now since he departed, going to the Giants and the Bucs since then. Hawkinson can be that guy there, and he can be that extra red zone threat that I think they've been missing, because really when you're in the red zone, short red zone, if you're not going to Dalvin Cook, who are you going to? It's not really Justin Jefferson or anything like that. So Hawkinson really adds an extra element, an extra layer to this offense that I really think that they were missing. So this is not as easy of a matchup I think people are giving it for the Vikings, but I do think that they cover in this week against the Commanders.
All right, guys, the Colts lost to the Commanders in Sam Ehlinger's first NFL start last week. Indy only managed 16 points in that one. Not great. Now they're going against Bill Belichick and the Pats in Foxborough. New England, 5-point favorites. Belichick is 14-0 straight up and 10-4 against the spread at home versus rookie quarterbacks in his career. Granted, Ehlinger was drafted in 2021, so technically not a rookie here, okay? But do you see any path to victory for the Colts, Steve? Like, especially with Jonathan Taylor now officially out. The Colts just haven't been good on offense all year, no matter who is playing quarterback.
No, it hasn't mattered, too, and a lot of it came from Matt Ryan, just the amount of turnovers that he was generating. But what are we going to see from San here? Here's the thing. Bill Belichick is an absolute fiend against the spread when it comes with games with game totals of 40 or less. He is 31-10-1 in that scenario, covering the spread in very low game totals. And that's exactly what we have here in this one here. We haven't seen enough from Sam Ehlinger. We're not going to sit here and pretend that I know what he's going to look like here in the NFL. The loss of Jonathan Taylor is massive too, but it's not like this was going to be a good matchup for him anyways. The Patriots have been one of the better run defenses in the league. I don't really like what I've seen from the Patriots overall, but I do think that they are a better team than the Colts team that they're running out, at least on this Sunday, that they're going to be facing here. So I would lean the Patriots in this one here. If I had a play in this one overall, I think the under is the play in this one as well. The Colts have been one of the best teams at hitting the under all season long. 7 and 8 games have gone under that they've played in. It's a low total in this one here, but I think it's going to be a lot of running from both sides. So I like the under in this play a lot.
Yeah, Josh, it's not like the Patriots have been much better on offense, but is their defense just going to win this one?
I think that's what you're banking on if you're a Pats fan here. Really low total. Steve mentioned it, 40.5. One thing I would mention, though, the line is going to the Colts in this game. So early in the week, it did open Patriots laying 6.5, laying 6. At one point, it got down all the way to 4.5, 5. It's been going back and forth. The injury report, to me, this is a game you really got to check the injury report. Patriots are going to miss a lot of guys. Andrews, you're also going to have Devontae Parker out. So that's going to hurt them here. Obviously, you have no Taylor here for the Colts. But what's notable to me is public loves the Patriots in this spot, but I would be a little bit worrisome here. Remember the Patriots won 2 in a row. They had a big game Monday night against the Bears. What happened? They let go of the rope in that one. So I'll lean here toward the points. You know, you have seen these dogs getting 3.5 or more, cashing 65% against the spread. Public's taking New England. I think they win the game, but I kind of like the fact this line is going to the Colts. I'd look at grabbing the points with Indy.
All right, guys, the Jets, they had New Yorkers pumped after a 5-2 start. Everyone was feeling real good, and then they did not look so good against New England at home last week. Not great. Now they're going up against the first place Bills squad. This was had them as 11.5-point dogs. Now it's moved down, 10.5-point dogs. So despite a rough start last week, Zach Wilson is 4-2 against the spread versus teams above 500 in his career. So it's definitely going to be a stretch to say that they could win here, but I mean, could they cover this large spread, Josh? And it's gone down just a little bit here.
So, and I think you hit the nail on the head here, Jesse. The fact that it's gone down. Why is this line going down? The public sees an easy blowout win and cover here for the Buffalo Bills, but if they're getting 80% of bets, why isn't this line up to -14, -15? It's going the other way toward the New York Jets here. So I'd look at actually buying low, grabbing the points here with the Jets. Obviously, you missed a good number at this point. But these divisional matchups, getting the divisional dog with that familiarity, knowing their opponent, they're cashing 86%, or sorry, 60, around 60% of the time this year. I'd put this to me like that Texans game against the Eagles in the primetime game Thursday night, where everyone was taking the Eagles, but that line stayed where it's at, even moved a little bit to the Texans. It's a gross play. I have no faith personally in the eye test, but the data tells me the value play would be taking the Jets and the points here.
Steve, how do we feel about this?
So I will say one thing. The Jets have been pretty good against the pass. They got some good corners there. Sauce Gardner and Reed have been amazing so far, but the Bills are also getting back their best corner. Tre'Davious White is being activated this week. That is huge for the Bills, who have been struggling a little bit in the secondary. This is the third time this season now the Bills have been double-digit favorites. They're 2-1 against the spread in those games, and they've covered in those games by an average of almost 18 points. The only game they didn't cover in as double-digit favorites was against the Packers. They only missed it by half a point. Captain hooked on that game there. They have been able to go and play extremely well in these games when they're huge favorites. I don't think that's going to matter much here this week as well. I think they go 3-1 as double-digit favorites here once again.
All right, good stuff, guys. A quick break here. Coming up next, we're going to look into our crystal balls. And as we've reached the midpoint of the NFL season, see which futures bets have emerged as good value here. Is it time to jump on the bandwagon for the division-leading Falcons? Steve and Josh will discuss next. Take a look at this, folks. We're at the midpoint of the NFL season, and you're looking at the most bet-on futures on the DK Sportsbook. Bills to win the AFC East, Bucks to win the AFC South, Rams to win NFC West, and the Colts to win the AFC South. So I'm Jesse Cofield with Steve Buchanan and Josh Applebaum, and we're going to break down which futures bets make the most sense to jump on right now. So looking at the graphic, guys, like a lot of the teams that got the bulk of public support to win the division early, they've struggled. They really have. Tampa, LA, Indy, etc. So which division winner prop looks good to you now? Like Atlanta at plus 225, Seahawks plus 330, Steve?
No, I do like the Atlanta one there to win the division. Like, it's crazy to think that we're in week 9 and we're talking about this as being an actual possibility at this point. If you look at the schedule, though, the Falcons have for the rest of the year, it's kind of like a cupcake schedule, and that makes you think that maybe they can actually pull this off. You look at some of the teams that they're playing: the Panthers, the Steelers, the Bears, the Saints, the Cardinals, and Tampa Bay, who, quite frankly, I think is really, they're going nowhere fast at this point here. So it's gross that I'm putting down money for the Falcons to win the division, but that division is such an atrocity at this point that the Falcons actually look like a team who's also getting back Cordell Patterson is actually a legitimate chance.
Yeah, Josh, what do you think?
And you mentioned just today's game real quick, Atlanta, so, some sharp money in their favor. This was the Chargers -3 when we got into the studio this morning. Now it's down to 2.5. You got a bunch of injuries here. Top wide receivers for the Chargers are both out, Allen and Williams in this one. So I'm kind of with Steve, maybe buying low on Atlanta has value. I'm going to go another direction here, though. I'm going to go to the AFC South, looking at the Tennessee Titans. This is kind of an expensive number, which some bettors may not be that into, but Tennessee's -300 to win that AFC South. They have a big lead right now. They're 5-2 on the year. These other teams that I thought the Colts were going to be good. Obviously, they're going in the wrong direction here. Other teams, Jacksonville, Houston, they're completely out of it. You look at Tennessee at -300. You have to risk 300 to win 100, and obviously you not have a very big risk reward here. But I like them to win this division. You look at what they have coming up here. They're going to play the Eagles and the Chiefs, couple tough games, but they have the Jags twice. They're going to play Houston. I don't see anyone catching Vrabel in the Tennessee Titans here. So I'd actually lay a -300 for Tennessee to win that division.
All right, guys, so the Bills are the Super Bowl favorite, and their quarterback, Josh Allen, is the MVP favorite at plus 120. Are there any other contenders that bring any better value, Josh?
I would just say real quick, the Chiefs plus 650 to win the Super Bowl. I know everyone loves Buffalo, everyone loves the Eagles here, but I think the Chiefs are flying under the radar. They pick up Tony. Mahomes is having one of his best years ever. Plus 650, I'd rather have that number than I would with some of these other numbers here.
Yeah, Steve, what do you think?
I mean, just talking about the MVP, I think Jalen Hurts at plus 33. 330 is the way to go in this one, too. Leads the league in adjusting completion percentage at 81.5. That is the aim passes throw on target. That also includes drops, so he's been much more accurate than even his surface numbers show here. 6 rushing touchdowns, too. That's the most of any non-running back in the league at this point. If the Eagles continue to roll, it's hard to not make him the MVP of the league.
All right, good stuff, guys. Thank you. Up next, we're going to look at some of the more interesting bets available for Week 9 as we explore our Sunday specials when the sweat presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook returns.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this week, new customers can bet $5 on any team and pocket $200 in free bets if their moneyline bet wins. Download the app and use the promo code SWEAT when you sign up.
right, boys, DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan, VSiN's Josh Applebaum. Let's wrap up this program with Sunday specials, okay? So your favorite parlays, promos, other fun bets that you can find on the DK Sportsbook. Steve, hit us.
Yeah, so there is a Sunday special you can get on there. DJ Moore or Romeo Dobbs to go over 100 receiving yards and getting that at plus 150. We just saw DJ Moore do this last week in a massive performance there, 152 receiving yards. The Packers continue to have a boatload of injuries, but they're going up against literally one of the worst secondaries in the league in the Detroit Lions. We still don't know the actual confirmation if Lazard is going to be in or not, but even if he is in, Dobbs has been a trusted target for Aaron Rodgers, which is not something that many people have I don't even know a good word for it, like ability to do. That's a good word. But truly, like, it's been that bad for the Packers offense, so give me that one there at plus 150.
Capacity. Josh, go ahead.
I'm going to make our guy Emerson really happy. I'm going to go to Travis Etienne. This guy has been unbelievable here recently. Etienne to have 100 plus rushing yards and at least one touchdown, plus 330 on the payout there. He's been great, really turned it on, gotten better every week. Last 2 weeks, the guy's been incredible. Against Denver, 156 yards, 114 against the Giants, TDs in both games. This is a high total, 47 up to 48. By the way, Raiders are taking money in this game, -1 up to -2.5. But give me Etienne to have a big game today.
All right, that's all the time we have for this week for the TV broadcast. Gentlemen, thank you. We are going to keep this show going over on our DK social channels, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, etc. So join us there. But we'll also be back on your TVs next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Guys, enjoy Week 9.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the better half hour of The Sweat. I am Emerson Latzia. We're going to put our DraftKings sports goggles back on here in just a moment. But first, I know all of you watching lost Powerball last night, so you're all still very poor, but you can change that by winning the Millie Maker today on DraftKings for our Week 9 main slate. Just $20 to get in. Hey, I see you. You were like right off camera. Sorry, I don't know. Just was weird. I'm like over here looking at this, but I'm staring at Steve Buchanan over here as well. So $20 to get in, $3.5 million up for grabs, $1 million for first place, plus a ticket to the Tournament of Champions semifinal where another $1 million is going to be up for grabs. You can step in now because I've already ruined it. I've already ruined this segment. So we're going to price check right now with you and Jeff Ulrich because I know all of you out there are panicking. You're like, how am I going to build a $1 million lineup? Well, you and Jeff are going to help us out. So
We'll try.
Yeah, we definitely
Is he
will.
going to come on this?
There he is. Yeah, boop. I love you, Jeff. Good to have you here. So I'll let you go first. I love this. At quarterback, you're going with the only active Hall of Famer in the NFL right now.
Who's that?
Yes. The only active Hall of Famer, Geno Smith.
Good God.
I don't know. Anyways, I'm taking Geno Smith. I didn't get that joke. I'm just too focused on Steve hiding in the corner there in the shadows. Geno Smith is top 10 in terms of yards per attempt in the league. He's taking on an Arizona Cardinal team who has played really fast pace the last couple of weeks because they have DeAndre Hopkins back. They've been pushing teams into shootouts. And with Geno Smith, you get this sneaky rush. I don't think people realize he's averaging just under 20 rush yards per game. He's taking on a Cardinals team who's again been fighting back, been pushing teams to play at a little bit faster pace. And he's just playing good football. He's got 2 elite wide receivers. At under 6K, I just don't know why this guy's still under 6K. No one's giving him any respect. Great way to start lineups. Cheap quarterback with rushing potential. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, are Lockett and Metcalf, are they good to go today? They should be good to go, right? Like you have the 2 viable wide receivers, climate-controlled environment there in Arizona.
Tyler Lockett will definitely be out there. I haven't heard any injury news at all. So,
yeah. So also, Cardinals have allowed the 4th most DFS points to opposing quarterbacks the last 4 weeks, Jeff. Who are you going with today at quarterback?
Yeah, you want to talk about somebody whose salary is disrespectful is Justin Fields. Yep. At 5,300. I mean, after posting single-digit fantasy points in the first weeks 2 and 3, he's going on to average 19.4 DraftKings fantasy points in 5 games since. They're underdogs to Miami in this one, so this should be a good spot for them because they're allowing an average of 22 DraftKings fantasy points to the quarterback position. Yep. Much tougher matchup over the past 2 weeks against New England and Dallas. Came away with at least 24 DraftKings fantasy points in that game. Something has changed. Something has unlocked all of a sudden with Justin Fields. I think he's in a great spot here. 5,300 allows you to pay up at other positions as well.
Yeah, Dolphins defense ranked 25th in DVOA, so the guy could easily feast on the ground and through the air. At running back, whose price do you like? Who are you going to roster?
Yeah, I like Austin Eckler. Did we lose Jeff too? Is he gone?
I don't know how this is working. There he is. I just like when he's there. I feel more comfortable.
That was very strange. We got to do better in the back end.
Just leave me on, guys.
Yeah, it's very strange. Get it together, guys. It's Sunday morning. Austin Eckler. No Keenan Allen. No Mike Williams. Where do you think all those targets are going to go to? Yeah, maybe they'll go to Josh Palmer. Maybe they'll go to DeAndre Carter. I almost said DeAndre Hopkins. But this is such a great spot for Austin Eckler, who has been a fiend through the air, over double-digit targets in 2 straight games now. This is just such a great spot for him. 60% of the carries right now, 20% of the overall targets on the team. That's when we were seeing Mike Williams or seeing Keenan Allen. None of those guys here today. Absolute smash spots for him for Austin Eckler.
Averaging 22 DFS points per game, and much of that comes from his work through the air, Steven. Good points. All right, Aaron Jones, it's almost like the Packers decided not to get Aaron Rodgers any help, and they've realized, wow, we can actually
they inquired. They inquired.
Oh, they inquired.
Don't worry, they inquired.
Okay. Yep. And anywho, looks like they realize they can lean more on the run game now, Jeff. That's why you like Jones today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, Aaron Jones is just a really good football player. I mean, put up 7 yards per carry against the Buffalo Bills. And I think that the Packers have realized that, they need to win games. They need to give Aaron Jones 20-plus touches. This is their only path. If they're not going to be aggressive and get Chase Claypool or Darren Waller at the deadline, which news came out, they were trying to get these guys, but they didn't get it done. Big shock. They need to get Aaron Jones the ball as much as possible because he's their only dynamic playmaker. Now he's taking on a Detroit Lions team who is bottom 5 in terms of fantasy points allowed to the opposing running backs. They allow a ton of receptions. They're just a bad defense. They allow big plays at an alarming rate. Aaron Jones here should feast. He should get another 20 touches. He scored 4 times in a game against the Lions last year. I mean, this is just, if the Packers can't get it done here, I don't know what else to say, but they should get it done because the Detroit Lions defense is that bad. Aaron Jones at under 8K in the spot. I think you just eat the chalk and take them.
I mean, Aaron Jones' last 3 matchups here against the Lions, Jeff, he's averaged 142 all-purpose yards per game, and he's scored 7 touchdowns, a chunk of that, and one of them that you've already mentioned. Wide receiver, you both like the same guy, and we're going to stick with that game we just discussed. Jeff, who's it going to be?
It's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think that this is just another place where you're just getting an underpriced player. He came back from injury. He saw 10 targets last game, and luckily, for DFS purposes, he didn't score a touchdown or go over 100 yards because now his price is still $6,600. This is a player who put up 8 catches and over 100 yards against the Packers in Week 18 last year. And the Packers, yes, Jerry Alexander's out there, but the way they scheme, they tend to allow these underneath passes, just kind of these underneath players just to float under and get a bunch of targets. And that's exactly what Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to do in this game. Packers, as I said, probably going to run Aaron Jones down their throats. They're going to force Jared Goff drop back 40-plus times. Amon-Ra St. Brown probably shows up with another 12 targets. It's really just a price thing. I don't know how you can not target him in a game with a 50-point total here, a close point spread at under 7K.
Hawkinson's gone. Swift is not 100% healthy.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a no-brainer here.
And it just came through, too, that Josh Reynolds is also going to be inactive today, too, as well.
Oh,
Adam
damn, this
Schefter
dude's
just
going to
threw
be
that out
peppered
there.
all day long from Jared
I mean,
Goff.
this is somebody who's already seen 8.3 targets per game with Hawkinson. Now Hawkinson's out of the mix, was averaging over 6 targets per game. Like, he's just going to absolutely get peppered for him. You know, Jeff brought up a lot of great points. I don't want to rehash a lot of those there, but this should be a positive, great game script for the Lions to pass because for as bad as the Packers offense has been, you got to get it downfield against the Lions. I feel like we can do that. So St. Brown, 6,600, this should be a huge spot for him.
And like on paper, it may not seem favorable like against this Green Bay defense, but they have a bottom 8 defense and passer rating allowed to slot receivers as well. The tight end position, it's super gross this week, Jeff, because you've got Andrews, you've got Kelsey, you've got Kittle off the main slate. So your guy this week is who at tight end?
It's Gerald Everett at 4,800. And honestly, I'm a little bit shocked that this guy isn't getting a little bit more love. I mean, as you mentioned, you've got big names off the main slate, but you've got a Chargers team without their top 2 receiving options. Gerald Everett's coming in with 15 targets over his last, actually it's 16 targets over his last 2 games. He's only got 1 touchdown on the year, but he's gotten pretty consistent red zone targeting, and he's facing the Atlanta Falcons, who they just don't guard anything well in the pass game. They're bottom 5 in terms of fantasy points allowed a ton of receptions to the tight end position already. Gerald Everett and Justin Herbert have a pretty good connection here, and I don't see a world where Everett doesn't get 7 to 8 targets at minimum here. You've got a Falcons team is going to be able to run the ball against the Chargers. I think Everett's in a really, really good spot. I just like Justin Herbert. Quarterbacks against Atlanta has been racking up yardage, and where else are you going to throw the ball? We've got a dynamic tight end here at under 5K in a game with a potential for a shootout. I think Gerald Everett's great at 48.
Yeah, big upside against a generous Atlanta defense. You're going with the tight end who was on the field for 93% of his team's offensive snaps last week. This guy, I love him. I love him. Who is it?
It feels like the Jaguars were in a team meeting, and they were scanning who was in the room, and they're like, did we have Evan Ingram the whole time? Because all of a sudden, now they're getting him the ball. It's like, what were you waiting for? Last 4 games have seen at least 7 targets, a total of 231 receiving yards over that span. And the Raiders have been one of the worst teams in the league against the tight end position, allowing an average of 16.6 DraftKings fantasy points. This dude is only 3,300. Finally hit the red zone for the first time last week. Let's make it 2 weeks in a row here with Evan Ingram.
Raiders defense has allowed the NFL's 3rd most touchdowns. That's 6 to the tight end position this season. Oh, that is beautiful. We've run out of time, so apologies to you two and your defensive picks, although you like the Jaguars is great, and he was going with the Commanders. But right now, we're going to send it back over to Jessie Cofield, who is apple picking because it's fall and she's basic.
Yeah, do you get it? I'm with VSiN's Josh Applebaum, and we're apple picking. It is a play on his last name. So we're going to find some low-hanging fruit on the Week 9 NFL betting board. So one way to approach betting, Josh, obviously, is to pay attention to the bets coming into the sports book to give you a sense of trends, public expectations. You're a data guy. What exactly should you be looking for?
Yeah, so what I'm looking for is 2 key phrases here. Low bets, higher dollars. It's very simple here if you want to have a tag phrase to kind of make it click in your head here. But low bets, higher dollars, what does that mean? When you're looking at these bet splits, which are really, really important piece of information here, I'm looking at number 1, the ticket percentage. That's the bet percentage. That's telling us just the raw amount of tickets on the game. Ideally, you want something less than 50%, 40%, 30%. That means that you're a contrarian play here where the public's heavy on the other side. And why am I a contrarian better? Because more often than not, the public loses. I'm pretty much playing a long game here. But you don't want to just take that bet percentage just in a vacuum. Compare that bet percentage with the dollar percentage. The dollars have nothing to do with the raw tickets, Jesse. That's the kind of the combined amount of money that the spread is taking in. So if you have a low bets but more money, that's telling me that the bigger, sharper wagers are in your favor. So for example, like the Commanders, reason why I like them today, not only do you have kind of this 3.5 going back down to 3, some liability on the Commanders, but if you look at our VSiN.com bet splits, which come directly from DraftKings, only 23% of bets are on the Commanders. That tells me they're a contrarian play. Public wants nothing to do with them, but they're taking in 55% of the money. So that tells me only a quarter of the bets are in your favor, but those bets are bigger, sharper wagers coming from respected bettors. So to me, the bet splits, are they going to win every single time? No, but it gives you a really good indication of where the respected money is, where the public is. If I'm going to bet a game, Jesse, I need those two answers. Where's the public? Where's the sharp money? Low bets, higher dollars, that's the way to find it.
Yeah, and we have like a pretty good sample size at this point of like what teams have been doing so far in the NFL season. So heading into week 9, what plays do seem to be that low-hanging fruit on the board, like the bets that seem to have a good return on investment?
Yeah, so I think it's always difficult. There's no such thing as a lock or a guarantee, but really what I'm looking for, the Commanders would be one of them. The other one that I looked at that it's becoming more of a kind of a play for me is the Las Vegas Raiders. This is another example of a late move to me on game day when you see respected money coming in. That's when the limits are highest, so that's really important here. But if you look at the Raiders, they open as low as like -1.5. They're all the way up to -2.5 right now. They're getting 56% of bets, but 74% of the money. So anytime you see like a 50% split, that's telling me the public's undecided. They don't really know where to go, but yet you're getting that bigger money in their favor, causing that line to go in their direction. So if you can still find the Raiders -2.5, even on the money line, it's not that bad. It's like -140. That would also classify as a low bets, higher dollars. And here's the thing. You need the line to go in that direction. Like if you're getting 20% bets, 60% money, but the line goes against you or it's not going in your direction, that's the missing ingredient. You want the line to kind of jive with what the percentages are telling you.
So based on some of the numbers that you're seeing this week, are there any bets that look like they're going to be good, but actually when you take a closer look, you think people should be staying away from?
Yeah, so I'm going to go to Monday night. The one that I'm really excited about, I actually grabbed a +3 with the Saints earlier this week, but it's got to be the Baltimore Ravens. They're a huge public play in prime time. Now, one thing we've noticed, dogs have done well this year, but primetime dogs have been really good. They're, I think, 18-10 against the spread. They're like 58, 60% here. But Baltimore, they just traded for Roquan Smith. They're off to a great start this year. They're getting almost 80% of bets, but they open laying 3.5. They're down to 2. We're showing 2 on our board. I see some books going to 1.5 here. So to me, the low-hanging fruit is always, if it looks too good to be true, typically it is. When I first started betting, Jesse, I was like, oh, looks too good to be true. The odds makers screwed up. It's their problem. They got something wrong. No, trust the market. The odds makers are the smartest people in the room. The Ravens may win and cover, but to me, I would be careful betting the Ravens Monday night. I actually like the Saints in that one with that line move.
All right, good stuff, Josh. Have your favorite touchdown prop ready to go. We're going to get to that right after we dish out some primetime picks. But first, Mike Golick Sr. joined Emerson earlier this week to give his take on which teams made the most noise during a historic NFL trade deadline.
All right, Mike Golick Sr., welcome back to the show. A lot has gone down around the NFL since the last time we have locked eyes, my friend, like a historic NFL trade deadline. A record 10 teams making deals on Tuesday. I know you're a defensive guy, so I need you to do me this. I need you to tell me which dude will have the biggest impact with his new team. So we're going to go Bradley Chubb in Miami, Robert Quinn with the Eagles, or Roquan Smith in Baltimore. What do you think?
Oh, boy. Wow, that's a good question. I might lean toward, Bradley Chubb in Miami. I think just for the fact that you sit there and look at where these teams are from a sack standpoint, Philadelphia, they already had an excellent pass rush. I think they have like 23 sacks or something like that. And Miami, I do not believe is there. I'm trying to find where they are as far as sacks are concerned, but they're not up as high as that. So I look at a Bradley Chubb going to Miami. Yeah, they have 15 sacks. The only issue, because you look at what Von Miller did, last year for the Rams. So I think Quinn went to a team that already is really good at pass rushing. But what Bradley Chubb can do, my only concern there is, out of the full 4 years he's played, which is 65 possible games, he's played 41. So he's missed 24, if my math is correct.
Yep.
So he's had an issue with missing some games, and he kind of like the Christian McCaffrey, which I think was a great move going to San Fran. But guy who's been nicked up. So if he stays on the field, I think that's the one that could probably do the most. Roquan Smith's a tackling machine. He's a leading tackler in the NFL. But when you're talking about sacks, you're talking about possibly forcing fumbles. So I would look at Bradley Chubb as maybe being the most impactful.
All right, Sunday Night Football taking us to Arrowhead Stadium. Two divisional leaders, Dust Chiefs and Titans, clashing in prime time. Tennessee, the only team to hold the Chiefs to no touchdowns during the Patrick Mahomes era. That was October of last season in Smashville. Now it's time to smash some primetime picks with Jeff Ulrich. Put his pretty face back up there. There he is. All right, Jeff,
There
you're
he
on.
is.
Smile for us, please.
All
I
right.
can dance, see?
All right. Let's start with who you're going to be captaining tonight, Jeff. You're going straight to the top of the board. You're taking Patrick Mahomes at $18,000. He's averaging 26.2 DraftKings points a game. Probably why you want to take him, right?
Yeah, that's probably why. I mean, look, we have so much unknown with what's going on with the Titans because they're holding it close to their chest. Who are we going to start at quarterback? It's going to be Malik Willis or Ryan Tannehill. We're really going to confuse the Chiefs. It is going to confuse us from a betting standpoint, DFS standpoint, because if Willis starts, the wide receivers for Tennessee are dead. And I'm not really sure if they had a chance to get there anyways with Tannehill. So it really comes down to two players, in my opinion. With the Chiefs having all these receivers now with Kadarius Toney in the mix, I think it kind of takes a lot of their players out for the captain spot. But you've got Patrick Mahomes going up against a weak pass defense in Tennessee. We've really seen them kind of regress, turn more into that funnel to the pass defense that we've seen in the past. They've allowed a couple big games in a row now to opposing quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, too, coming off a bye here. I mean, with Andy Reid, I mean, the stats are phenomenal just in terms of their success rate. You've got Patrick Mahomes as also a quarterback who's averaging over 20 yards per game from a rushing standpoint. That rushing upside sometimes just gets swept under the rug. I'm just not really sure that I want to take the chance with Derrick Henry because he's going to be such a focal point that the Chiefs are going to know what's coming. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes here as the captain. I think you pay up and you look for some of that sweet value down the board.
Yeah, not to mention 3-0 in primetime games this season, Jeff, with 9 touchdowns, just 1 pick, and an average of 260 passing yards. So that's pretty solid.
Well, as we said, the Titans seem to have the Chiefs' number, specifically Patrick Mahomes.
Right, he's 1 and 2 against them. But on the DraftKings Sportsbook, what's your favorite bet for Titans Chiefs tonight? Looks like you're going with a boomer bust wide receiver.
Yeah, this game is honestly, it's hard to handicap across the board. Even for player props, I think we've got Kadarius Toney mixed in. I think that taking some overs on Patrick Mahomes, maybe for an alt line for 300 yards is fine. But there is one receiver I like here to pop up. I think it's a great time for Marquez Valdes-Scantling to continue some big game usage. He's got a 39.5 receiving prop. This looks low. We've seen MVS at around 44.5 for props, earlier in the season. And I mean, he's had a couple big games in a row. This is a player who's averaging, over 15 yards per reception. He's still playing, around 60% of the snaps. I don't expect Marquez Valdes-Scantling to suddenly go to like a 40% snap rate just because Kadarius Toney is in the lineup. I think that if anything, I would probably be fading Juju Smith-Schuster here, but MVS against a weak Titans pass defense, I mean, this is a player who can get there for us on a couple catches, and with a 39.5, receiving yardage total, a great matchup, and just a game where the Chiefs are at home off a bye. I think we get there on this one. This is one of those props that just keeps it simple. It's not a big play or anything, but with so much uncertainty, you got to kind of take what's given to you here. And I think this is one where you really want to go over in this game.
Yeah, we've seen with that big playability, too, the potential to clear this number with just one catch, kind of like he did against the San Francisco 49ers his last time out with the 57-yard grab.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's a lot easy from a lot of standpoints. When you get a big play receiver seeing good usage, you usually want to go over.
Hence the whole boomer bust thing. Okay, to Monday night we go. All right, Ravens visiting the Saints. Primetime typically does mean trouble for Andy Dalton, and you're just going to captain his top target here? Not worried about that at all?
Yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a risk here. Obviously, Lamar Jackson coming in, no Rashad Bateman. Mark Andrews doubtful. I mean, I have my suspicions here about the Ravens, just like Josh was saying. And I think that this is a spot where you're going to see Chris Olave pop up. And I think you're going to see him pop up because the Baltimore Ravens secondary is not good at guarding against wide receivers. I mean, in terms of just fantasy points allowed, they're fourth worst in the league. And I mean, again, yes, it is Andy Dalton, but it's Andy Dalton in a home environment. You're going to have Chris Olave. able to work the middle, the sides of the field as well. Again, like we're talking about from a DFS standpoint here as well. Everyone is going to be looking at Alvin Kamara off a big game. Everyone's going to be looking at Lamar Jackson here. But in this one, the targets are really going to be concentrated in the passing game to one player. Mike Thomas isn't out. They really don't have any other alpha receivers. Chris Olave, if the big play gets there, I mean, he is going to be a very good leverage play. I think people will be scared off him because of the Andy Dalton factor, but we're playing the matchup. We're playing the dome environment here. I think it's a great shot to finally go with the number one wide receiver because we know that that's where the ball is going. There's obviously some variance. There's way more variance with Olave compared to Kamara, but if the upside, I think it's just as good. I think it's a good time to captain Chris Olave.
Baltimore's defense allows the 5th most DraftKings points per game to wide receivers.
Another great reason to listen to Jeff Ulrich here. Which final one, quickly, best bet for this game. What do you like here?
Look, I'm going to ride with Josh on this one. I like the Saints as underdogs. Defense picking up. You've got a Baltimore Ravens team completely banged up. I don't think they're going to be able to take advantage of the worst part of the Saints offense anyways, which is their secondary. Give me the Saints here to cover the +2. I love riding with the underdogs. And again, going against the public favorites in the Ravens.
All right, that'll do it for primetime picks. Making one last push for the end zone next as we give out our favorite touchdown props for Week 9.
First, though, Ross Tucker joining the Dan Le Batard show earlier this week to share his thoughts on why some head coaches continue to struggle on Sunday and what Bill Belichick and his staff do better than anyone else in the league.
Most of the systems these guys run, they're not even necessarily the best system. It's just the system they learned.
Yep,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, it's not even like, this is the system we should be running. It's just, this is what I know. This is what I learned. Now I'm the head coach or now I'm the coordinator. So this is the system we're going to run. And then they spend 2 or 3 years trying to get players that fit their system. But in the NFL now, if you're not good in 2 years, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
So they never even get it. They never even get the guys that fit their system because they lose so much the first 2 years. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you remember this, Hawk, from New England, but I will give Belichick credit for this. Now, Belichick's a fascinating case study in leadership because anytime I do like a speaking engagement, they'll always ask about Belichick. I don't know if you were there long enough, Hawk, but it's 100% negative reinforcement.
Yes.
I mean, Dan Stugatz, the first thing
tired.
they do at 8 a.m. every day, is show the 5 worst plays from practice the day before. And Belichick just makes fun of whoever messed up.
Yeah.
So your motivation there is to not be on one of those 5 plays. But
It's coaching, Dan. It's coaching. You think about it the entire practice, too. Like, don't mess up. Don't get on Bill tube. And you know who gets it the worst? Tom Brady.
Right.
Oh, he was pissed. He was pissed. I'm sorry to cut you off, Ross. The exact quote Bill said was, defense safeties, I told you, you need to be off the hashes in cover 2. Luckily, we don't have a quarterback who can hit the broadside of a barn. Otherwise, this would have been a touchdown. It was Tom Brady he was talking about. This is like year 15.
You know what I thought was interesting? To Dan's point, I can't remember where the sign was, but at one time it said that they have 2 signs. One was like availability is more important than ability. And that's in the training room, right? So like
So
you're in the training room.
So get out of the training room.
Get out of here. And then the other thing is consistency is more important than ability or something like that.
Yep.
Like if you suck at pass blocking, okay, like I probably did, they just want like whatever you're good at, be good at that. Whatever you suck at that because in their mind they can coach around that, right? Like they can. But if you're sometimes a good run blocker and sometimes not, they can't coach around that.
Mm-hmm.
So what they want more than anything else is they want players that are consistent because they believe that they can put you in position to only have to do the thing that they know you're good at and not do the thing that they know you stink at. I thought that I never heard 5 teams, all those coaches, nobody else ever said that. Like, just do what you do. Be consistent with we can coach around your weaknesses.
This bummed me out, though. It made me feel a bit bleak that Andrew has told us before that he gets to the Patriots and he realizes while working out with another young person that young person wants it more than he does, cares more, has a hunger. And then the first 5 things that happen in your morning is Bill Belichick being negative. And you look over there in the banquet hall through a walkthrough and Tom Brady's taking a one hour of imaginary snaps. and you're like, bleep this, I don't want to do it anymore.
There was a time in my life where that would have got my juices going, man. That would have. Oh, I'd have been in there talking like Macho Man Randy Savage. Let's get to it, yeah.
You got to him too late.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's too late. I missed this window of spending an hour in the corner doing things that I did my freshman year in college.
All right, back here for our final block of the show. Emerson, Jesse, Steve, Josh, Jeff, everyone's hanging out. We're taking a trip to the end zone right now. This is when you guys share with us your favorite touchdown props for today's slate. So, Jeff, you're going with a guy, of course, who hasn't found the end zone since week 1.
Fantastic.
Of course I am. But guess what? He's playing the Detroit Lions, so it's all going to figure out. And he does play running back, and he's going up against the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have allowed 11 touchdowns to the running back position through 8 weeks. It's A.J. Dillon at plus 185. I look at the touchdown prop odds. Aaron Jones is at minus 160, but A.J. Dillon's at plus 185. This guy scored 5 rushing touchdowns last year. He's still getting over 40% of the snaps. It's only 15-11 in terms of red zone touches in Jones's favor there. I think A.J. Dillon probably falls in the end zone here just because he's playing the Lions.
A.J. Dillon, also a massive card collector. Did you know that,
Yeah.
Jeff? He's a big card collector. He
Well,
is.
I mean, let's double. I mean, I just
Hey.
increased my unit size.
Right, so now 2 touchdowns.
I will say this. He's coming off his first red zone carry since week 4. Yeah, last week against the Bills. 10 carries is
Lots
encouraging,
of
Jeff.
momentum.
That's
Lots of
huge.
momentum.
Yeah, and I think we're going to stay with that game with Josh, right?
Yeah, Josh,
I'm
go
going to
ahead.
stick with that game. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm going to go the other side of this one, though. I'm going to look at Jamal Williams here. Revenge game against his old team. Number 1, I'm looking at these scoring props. Give me the games with the highest total. The total in this one, 49.5, closing in on 50, open 49. Could have a lot of points in this one. I was leaning Detroit 3.5 throughout the week. I did notice, though, that the Green Bay Packers just went to -4. They got a good injury report here, so late money is going Packers. But for Jamal Williams to score in this one, -115. Aaron Jones is a much higher number, so is Swift. Swift's a little banged up. I don't know if he's going to get through this entire game. But Jamal Williams, second most touchdowns in the league. He's got 8 overall. Nick Chubb is leader with 10. Revenge spot, Swift's banged up. Give me Jamal Williams to score in this one. He's been scoring quite a bit this year.
Yeah, so I'm going to go a little bit of a reset.
Chip
All
Clapp.
right, Steve,
What?
yeah, 3, 2, 1, action.
I'm going to go with a different direction here. I'm going to go with that Minnesota-Washington game. I think this game has some sneaky shootout potential here, despite the total only being at 43.5. You can get Terry McLaurin to score an anytime touchdown at plus 170. This has been the guy for Heineke since he took over that quarterback role. 16 targets for Terry McLaurin. Be quiet, Emerson. 16 targets for McLaurin since he's took over. This is somebody who's really been lost in that offense when he was with Carson Wentz. You know, Carson Wentz, give me a break here. But McLaurin here at plus 170, I think this is really good value here in a game that he really is going to have a good matchup here no matter who he lines up against from this Minnesota Vikings secondary. So now we're going to shoot it back to Emerson where he can actually talk when he's supposed to.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. No, I was going to agree with you.
Thanks.
With everything that you said.
Thanks for acknowledging.
Scored week 1 against Heineke, tackled at the 1-yard line last week, almost scored.
Wrap up the show.
All right, yeah, that's going to
So
do
do we
it.
want to break down Raiders Jaguars?
Nope. All right, that's
Or do
going
we
to do
have
it.
to
For,
go?
we don't do
ETN?
track on the show. That's going to do it for our Week 9 edition
we're ETL.
of The Sweat. Emerson cannot keep it together. We're getting back here next Sunday starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. Don't forget, you can also watch us during the week at 11 a.m. on all the DraftKings social channels. But enjoy the games
There's
today.
Jeff.
We'll see you next Sunday.
Hi, guys.
A 5 on that comic. You happy about that grade?
All right, we got to go. Stop talking.